since about the mid-1990s, which is before I was born, to be fair, but I can recognise these things still, there has been a considerable push for people to adopt vegetarian, vegan-style diets and just indulge in meat substitutes. And this is carrying on into the common day, where it's now, instead of just pure meat substitutes, it's you must eat the Boogs, which is something that we've covered a few times. But I thought we'd just go over some of the more recent developments and take a look at where this is all coming from. Before we go any further, I just want to draw everybody's attention to two recent pieces of work that I've done for the website. A free article called Economics and Fitness, where I'm talking about the mindset that you need to be in. You need to have low time preference, so you need to be able to, in the Jordan Peterson sense, put off what is expedient for what is meaningful to be able to get into a fitness-orientated mindset. And plus, also, I doubt that Boogs will be great nutrition for all of your gains that you'll be going for. So check that out if you're interested. And also, I did an article, a premium video on how to be a conservative environmentalist, because a lot of this push for eating Boogs recently has been done in the name of creating a greener future, because they're so much more sustainable to grow bugs than cultivate farms with farmyard animals and create beef and other such things that are much more nutritious and better for you. So check those out if you're interested. And let's move on. I just want to preface this with saying that I am not against vegan meats and other such lifestyle choices in principle. In principle, I think if people choose to eat them, if there is a high enough market demand for them, whatever. It just seems to me that a lot of this so-called demand that's for these kinds of synthetic meats and boogs nowadays is artificially pushed by agenda-setting elites in the World Economic Forum, their media cronies, and also Bill Gates.
But that's the thing. As a result of all that, I've got a massive bigotry against all this stuff, this ersatz food.
Yeah.
I mean, I love how back in the war we used to call it fake food, substitute food.
It is fake food.
As like
my fiancée is a veggie and she's constantly eating like, oh, this is a Beyond Meat burger. And I'm like, no, it's fake. It's a lie. That's what it is.
Fleisch.
Mm-hmm. So you out there watching this, do your part. Go out and buy some steak, eat lean meats, reject the boogs, reject the fake meat. Scruton even pointed out that if you don't, most farm animals that are reared purely to be eventually slaughtered so that you can eat them would never be born in the first place. So if you do care about animals, eat them. Anyway, just to point out that this is massively being pushed by Bill Gates, first of all, who has for a long time wanted us to eat 100% synthetic beef. And this article from Men's Health, of all places, says that he has a point. So Bill Gates suggests synthetic beef, like Beyond Meat, is a key part of climate action. Good, I don't care. I'm not going to eat it anyway. Screw the climate. Lab-grown meat still has extremely high costs, but taste-wise, it has passed muster. Yes, for all of the vegetarians and vegans who have forgotten what meat tastes like, so why would I trust their opinion on anything? And Gates is pushing meat alternatives because of meat's high cost in global emissions. Once again, even if that is true, I don't care. Do you?
No.
No, exactly.
Like, this is the cost of food. Okay, yeah, well, I kind of need food.
Yeah,
I'm
like
not eating
food.
corpse starch, so...
Yeah, I don't want you to just create some mush and form it into what looks like meat, because I know you're lying to me. Bill Gates has a big idea to fight climate change. The Microsoft co-founder and chair of the investment fund Breakthrough Energy Ventures recently suggested that all rich countries should move to 100% synthetic beef in an interview with MIT. So what he's basically saying is sacrifice your current standard of living for the sake of people you don't know on the other side of the world who are probably causing more emissions than any of us over here are, for the environment, because why not? Also, why? Once again, I don't care. And we've got Impossible Foods coming to the UK, because this is something that we've all been raring for. Are you excited for Impossible Foods to show up here?
I mean, this is what I mentioned before, which is just the fact that, do you remember when vegetarian and vegan stuff was for vegetarian and vegans?
Mm-hmm.
Which was fine.
They weren't trying to market it to us and lie to us. That no, it's just like real meat, guys.
There's 3 meals, and then there's the vegetarian option, which is not a meal. And that's how it goes. And that's, whatever. And then the version of that now is that, hey, meat eater, eat the vegetarian stuff. And it's just like, but why would I do that? I'm not a vegetarian.
Yeah, why would I? I have no incentive to do this. It's fake, it's a lie, and I can taste it, and you can't gaslight me into believing otherwise.
But there's the point. Do you really think that Burger King is deeply obsessed with the climate? No. They're obsessed with money.
Yes,
It's
of
probably
course they
just
are.
cheaper to feed you the lab.
Well, it's probably not even cheaper to feed you the lab when they're saying that lab costs and other such things are still expensive. What's probably
Well,
happening
not
is
not
that
the lab meat, the fake crop.
yeah, these massive hedge funds are probably saying, hey, we'll give you all this investment money if you push our product. Whether or not it actually makes a return on the investment, we don't care. We just want to push this out into the world. And I've got evidence for that. But it says Impossible Foods, the Californian company, no surprise there, that makes plant-based meat is launching in the UK. The company will introduce its meat-free chicken nuggies and sausage patties through restaurants and plans to roll out supermarkets later in the year.
They should really start calling that in articles, just chicken nuggies.
I mean, that's what they are. That's what they are, really. The product range will be available in restaurants including Chicken Cottage, Halo Burger, blah, 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 and also will be introduced in more than 250 Green King Hungry Horse pubs. And we'll see how successful it is there. When you go for pub grub, do you often go for the vegetarian option?
No,
No, you go for the nice, thick, starchy meat.
because I'm going out to eat. I'm paying money, a lot of money, to go out to eat
Not
instead
to
of staying
graze.
home. Yeah.
I'm not going to pay for grazings. Impossible Foods fake meat is made from proteins extracted from soy and potatoes, because we all need more soy in our diets, as well as flavorings and bindings. The company markets itself as a more ethical alternative to eating meat, promising the taste and consistency without the animal bloodshed or environmental impact. But that's what makes it taste so good. The fact that I know it was something that's alive, that's dead now.
No.
It's conquest.
It's usually because of the taste, but okay.
I don't know. There's a part of my monkey brain that appeals to.
I mean, this is the only argument for vegetarianism that I think is actually valid and worthwhile, which is the ethical one. And it's just like, yeah, fair enough. You know, there are some people who can't handle it.
I mean, one of the things that I've started doing recently, I've started going to Food Warehouse and buying, grass-fed lean meats and then free-range eggs and such like that, so I can make sure that I'm eating the diet that I'm after with a more ethical element to it. I know that the animals weren't, tortured, basically.
Halal slaughtered.
Yeah, they weren't halal slaughtered. They weren't kept in tiny little cages like battery hens or anything like that. Everything ethical, and I still get to eat the food that I want. The company was founded in 2011 and has raised over $2 billion in funding from investors, including Microsoft founder Bill Gates and tennis champion Serena Williams. Reports last autumn suggested the company was eyeing a $7 billion valuation in a funding round. So immediately, the second this place started, funding, backing from the elites, which tells me, more than anything, this is just being pushed for the elite agenda. People don't want this. And hey, I've got evidence, because it turns out that if it weren't for all this funding, Beyond Meat would actually rebrand as Beyond Broke, because their Q3 sales, their sales, every single time I hear about them, always fall short. You go into the supermarkets and you can have empty shelves of actual meat products.
And the vegetarian stuff will still be there.
Yep. Even if you're starving, it's like, I'm not eating that. It's fake. It's a lie. That won't do anything for me. Beyond Meat says its sales increased 12.7% to $106.4 million for the July-September period. That was lower than the $109 million Wall Street forecast, and the shares as a result in the company based in El Segundo, California, dropped 18% in after-hours trading. So it immediately just dropped. If it weren't for the fact that this was backed by elites, this would fail. This is not a marketable situation, I don't think. But along with all of the fake meat substitutes that we've got going for us, we've also got organisations and institutions pushing the Boogs, including CBBC. This is going directly for the children, and this article is almost 3 years old now. Eating insects. Should we be eating more? Why are they so good? Taking it for granted that Boogs are just good to eat for you. Now, I know John has pointed out, being Chinese, that over in Asia and parts of Central and South America, for instance, people do eat bugs, but they eat them as a snack. That's all it is. It's just a little snack to tide you over, whereas what these sorts of people are doing is trying to put them forward as pure meal substitutes. You need to eat the bugs for the environment, for your own good.
I'm more creeped out by the idea that you target children here, because this is the strange aspect of it. Because I don't know if you know, but there are a lot of things banned to be advertised at children in the UK, and I believe sugary drinks now are one of them.
Yes,
that are banned.
cigarettes, for instance.
But below 16, I don't think you can even advertise soda at kids in this country.
I think you need to prove your age to buy energy drinks like Monster.
Sure, but it's about the targeting, the advertising part here. And the fact that in the United States, I happen to know that Coca-Cola and Pepsi actually came to an agreement and just said, yeah, we're just not going to advertise it under 12s. because
I
this
think
is
that's
morally
responsible.
wrong. Yeah, it was the fact that, okay, you could advertise to kids and then get them to have your only product. So a kid would just drink Coke for the rest of his life, or Pepsi, right? And therefore you got brand loyalty, they'll have the thing, and they don't think it's weird. Whereas that's obviously creepy and wrong, especially for something that's bad for you.
Children are very easy to manipulate, shockingly enough.
Yeah, it's the idea that you want to go after kids and make sure that they think eating bugs is fine is sus to me, if nothing else.
It is very sus. And also, there's just the element of nutrition. Do you think that the Boogs are going to be nutritionally fulfilling for young children who need a full diet to be able to develop properly? I don't think so. And we've got other articles pushing this sort of thing, saying 12 reasons why you should start eating bugs in all capital letters. Edible insects are sustainable, delicious, and they're getting more accessible than ever. You can even find them out in your back garden now. Incredible. 2 billion people worldwide are already eating insects every day. And once again, as snacks, not as meal replacements. Number 1.
What is this argument, though? You're okay with the bug bar, but the bug meal is too far.
Well, no, it's just John's point that he was making, that there's a difference in the targeting and what they're going for here. It's not that you should be eating the bugs as a snack, which, I don't think anybody is saying you can't do it. It's that they're saying that you should be eating the bugs as your main diet, which just feels wrong for me. But here's some of the points. Number 1, they're delicious. X to doubt. And they point out, beetles are a great popcorn alternative. Do you want to go to the cinema, go catch a film, get a nice bucket full of beetles?
I don't even like popcorn. I'm not going to like beetles.
Crunch down, get your sweet and salted beetles. Nom, 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 good movie. 2, you're already doing it. Sorry to break it to you, but the truth is you already eat bugs, of course, unconsciously. One researcher estimated that we're all eating more than a pound of insects every year. You may wonder how. Insect parts are hidden in your favorite foods. So because of regulations saying that you're allowed to have this X amount of crushed up bugs in your food, which is another example of why regulations always fail, because all you're doing there is setting a minimum. They don't have to improve their product any more than that. They can go, we've hit the target, just leave the rest of the bugs in there, That's why it's okay, because you're already doing it, so who cares?
It's also just a fact of reality. If you make a jar of jam, then you're going to end up with some bug legs in there.
Yeah, I mean, I can accept that as a side consequence. 4, bugs are sustainable. Don't care. Just don't care. These sorts of arguments make no impression of me.
But also, what a weird argument. It's like, do you know about alligator meat? The fact that it almost went extinct? And then they started farming it so that they could sell you it, and now the population has bounced back completely.
It's like if you allow people to privately own these things, they'll have an incentive to not make them go extinct, because I can make money off this. Shocker, I know. Number 7, it's foolish to judge food by its looks. Well, I still do. I am Callum will tell you, everyone will tell you, I'm the pickiest eater in the world. It's done me good so far. Worked for my ancestors, works for me. And number 10, you don't have to eat them whole. That's not an argument. That's just saying, here's how you can make it less disgusting.
I know it's terrible.
But you don't have to have it in one. You can cut it up into tiny little pieces. And where does all of this push come from? Why it comes from where everything else bad in the world right now comes from, which is the World Economic Forum. Why we need to give insects the roles they deserve in our food system. My ideal role for bugs is under my boot. That's where I see it. The world's population will reach 9.7 billion people by 2050. This means that despite only 4% of arable land remaining available on the surface of our planet, an additional 2 billion more humans will have to be fed. Now, this is just pure Malthusian economics. What they're doing there is they're completely just ignoring the possibility of further innovation within farming that could make it more efficient. And plus, they're forgetting that population growth isn't coming from the West. So why should the Westerners do this? Why not send out humanitarian aid, seeing as they want to help the world, to help people in these impoverished countries, which is where the population growth is coming from, farm better?
I don't feel like sending cockroaches to Ethiopia is actually a good idea.
I don't think they'd be too pleased with that, do you? Here, starving child, eat this, picks up bug. I don't want that, thank you. And they've been at this for a long while. I found this article from 2018, but I know they've been at this for a while. Was it 2016 that the You Will Eat the Bugs came from originally?
I don't know. I think it's way older than that.
Yeah, it's way older than that, but they've been at this for a while. Good grub. Why we might be eating insects soon. And because they've been at it for a while, they have, of course, managed to convince a number of the elites that this should be happening, and hence the UK government, well, the Welsh government, might be introducing a programme to test this out in primary schools, making the whole idea of targeting children being creepy and weird even more clear. Let's just bring it out into the daylight. Let's see if we can just feed the small children, your children, bugs, and see if the parents are happy about this. This, I pointed out, this does feel like something that Dr. Evil came up with. This is one of his crazy experiments. He's going to start putting laser beams on the little bugs' heads so that he can achieve world domination. He's going to start planting, I don't know, mind control drugs in the bugs. So you just eat them and you just obey everything that Dr. Klaus says. And let's look at the article that this is from, the GB News article that's on here. Primary school children could soon be offered insects as part of their school dinners in order to help the environment. 4 primary schools in Wales will be piloting a scheme educating children on alternative proteins from sources such as insects. Now, alternative proteins, that really does sound like the... What is it? What's that film that you keep pointing out where they've got the bug bars and it's all crushed up cockroaches?
Snowpiercer.
Yeah, it really does sound like the Snowpiercer sort of logic, doesn't it? No, it's not that it's cockroaches, it's that it's alternative protein. Don't you worry about it. Crickets, grasshoppers, silkworms, locusts, and mealworms, so you're going to be eating like a reptile, will all be discussed with children in Pembrokeshire with the view of potentially offering them as an alternative protein. This is after a 2020 study by the International Platform of Insects for Food and Feed, IPIFF, found 9 million European consumers ate insects in 2019. European, not British. Stay away. Study author Verity Jones of the University of West England in Bristol said everyone eats insects every day. There's over 30 parts of bugs in every 100 grams of chocolate. Bread, fruit juices, hops, you name it, you're eating insects. So they're just saying, why don't you just take it to the logical end point here and just eat the bugs? All research for adults and children indicates whole insects are off-putting, but ground up insects within foods are very acceptable. So if we just deceive you, if we just grind up the bugs surreptitiously and feed them to you without you realizing it, this makes it okay.
What a nonsense argument. It's like, well, there's a leg in that jar of jam. That jar of jam. It's just like, okay, what? And he's like, well, therefore, I've jammed up just legs into a paste, and we're going to put that on your toast instead. And like, no,
I don't want that.
I want the jam. It just happens to come with a leg or two. Like,
I could accept that, okay? No one likes the idea of having a crunchy bit of wing or antenna beneath their teeth, but in fact, children were more likely to choose food containing edible insects over usual meat products on a matter of sustainable credentials if given the option. So if you've got a teacher saying you can eat the meat, but if you eat the meat, it's very evil and Bambi will die, shockingly enough, the easily manipulated children will be easily manipulated into eating the bugs. What a shock. Never saw that one coming. My research indicates, as with adults, that boys are more likely to be up for trying the new foods first, but overall both boys and girls seem to be willing to have a go in equal measure. So this is all just going back to the argument of trust the science. I did the research, bro, don't worry about it. And I honestly think that this whole thing is fundamentally anti-human and is antithetical to our instincts. Like most people in the West didn't go around eating bugs. We recognize big cow, bonk on head, eat, make feel good. They were trusting their instincts, and that's what we need to do now and recognize that this is awful, because as far as I'm concerned, this anti-human sentiment that is all originating from this idea that we need to do all this for the earth, for Mother Earth, for a greener future, because human beings, they're the real disease on earth, leads to one thing and one thing only, which is a organized effort to try and lead to a voluntary extinction event where we all just walk off and refuse to have children anymore and just let ourselves die out. And on the basis of that, I found this horrifying article. Tamagotchi children who don't exist could solve population problem.
What's the problem? That we exist?
Apparently, according to these sorts of people, yes, it absolutely is. They say it's overpopulation, but really, they do hate humanity. And I would say it's moral cowardice to a certain extent from these people, because if they were consistent with their own positions, they would probably just jump off a bridge. But then they don't, because they know on some level that there is value in human life, but they still push all this nonsense anyway. And I'll just take a quick look through this article and see how horrified you all are out there at this. They will cuddle you, play with you, and of course resemble you. They will require minimal resources and will cost next to nothing to bring up. If these sound like ideal children to you, be warned, what has just been described is a virtual child. These metaverse-hosted digital babies, an artificial intelligence expert has produced predicted will become commonplace in 50 years. In AI by Design, a plan for living with artificial intelligence, Ms. Campbell argues that concerns about overpopulation will prompt society to embrace digital children. It is a demographic transformation that she has nicknamed the Tamagotchi generation. Virtual children may seem like a giant leap from where we are now, but within 50 years, technology will have advanced to such an extent that babies which exist in the metaverse are indistinct from those in the real world. Indistinct babies in the metaverse. You don't need children anymore. Congratulations. You need to just overcome your instinctual evolutionary desire to procreate and spread your own genes. Just have the virtual baby. Don't worry about it. It's the same thing, bro. Trust the science.
This is so obviously a tobacco salesman trying to sell you their product like she's made some crappy, virtual child. And it's like, don't worry, just buy this. It's just the same as your kid, I swear. It was like, no, it's not. Everyone knows it.
Yeah, she cites widespread concern about environmental toll exacted by the world's increasing population, which is nearing 8 billion. So don't have babies because Mother Earth might get upset. A 2020 YouGov study into why couples chose not to have children found that nearly 10% remain childless because of overpopulation concerns. Because that's the thing, this sort of like doomsaying, these death cultists, which it is when you see this sort of stuff, it absolutely has become a death cult. This does have real effects on people. So many people in my generation that I speak to nowadays are like, I would have children, but I just don't want to do it to Earth to bring them into such a terrible world. Just don't listen to this absolute doom-mongering. While a further 10% chose not to start a family because of the cost of raising a child. Make no mistake that this development, should it indeed take place, is a technological game changer which, if managed correctly, could help us solve some of today's most pressing issues, including overpopulation. Note the if managed correctly. Who's going to be managing that, I wonder? Is it going to be you, the pleb on the street? No, it's going to be the enlightened, intellectual elite telling you how you are supposed to use your own body. Ms. Campbell said that through CGI and advanced machine learning, digital children will have photorealistic faces and bodies, and they will be able to recognize and respond to their parents using facial tracking and voice analysis. They will be capable of speech and simulated emotional responses encompassing a baby's coo, a child's giggle, and a teenager's backchat. Their parents will be able to interact with them in digital environments of their choosing, such as sitting room, park, or swimming pool. They'll be able to choose how quickly their digital children grow up, if at all. And does that not sound like a dystopian hellscape?
It just sounds like no one's even going to want it.
Well,
I mean, frankly.
I could see crazed Extinction Rebellion leftists embracing
but everyone
this.
knows that's not real. Like, someone playing Second Life knows that's not a real Second Life.
Yeah,
and I have no belief that this will actually work either.
Oh, neither do I. But at the same time, these sorts of things being pushed do have an effect, as we saw from like the fact that there's so many. We're below replacement rate. These are genuine consequences of the world and the ideology that we live in currently, and it's horrifying that this is even being put forward as an idea in the first place, as far as I'm concerned. But the true way forward, as with everything, it seems, is to reject modernity, return to tradition, and trust your instincts and trust your ancestors. Move to the next one for me. I just want to end on this meme. Trusts the science, the midwits in the middle, indulging in their sugars, their microplastics, their fake vegan foods, whereas my ancestor, he bonked animals eating grass and ate it and trusted his instincts, and then I'm trusting my ancestors, and so should you.
If you appreciated that segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content we have on the site, such as the Contemplation series, this one on why sex is binary. And if you want to follow what else Josh is putting out, you can follow him on Getter at @Josh_firm on Getter. Thank you and goodbye.